and very well grounded in double-blind placebo studies, clinical trials, and all that great stuff. So we'll be chatting a little bit about that as we go through today as well. So we're going to assume that people will know very little, because we know people come into these things with lots of different levels of information. So it didn't say we're recording. That's weird. Thank you, Wendy. Hang on, let me just check that again.
It did.
It did? Oh, it did. Okay, great. So it is recording. Always good to check though. Thank you. So let's start just by talking about phototherapy and light therapy, because this is the foundation for how this X39 patch and all of the LifeWave technology patches work. And we're all already using phototherapy, whether we know it or not. And the way that we all do it without necessarily knowing it is when we go out into the sun, the sunlight triggers the natural process in our body to boost our production of vitamin D. And that's really light therapy, phototherapy. In the same way, the X39 patch activates natural systems in our body to help us to regenerate, to heal, and to rejuvenate. So the disclaimer, though, that we say, and it's important for us to be really clear about this, is we're not medical doctors. Gary and I both have decades of experience and practice in personal development, personal change, life coaching, wellness and well-being, but we're not medical doctors. So everything we share today is for information purposes only. If you want to pursue this further, and we obviously really encourage you to do, because we'll be sharing stories about how powerful these patches can be for helping your body to naturally rejuvenate. If you want to use them, then obviously your responsibility is to check this with your own medical professional so that you know that it's fine for you. Now, interestingly, there are no contraindications with these patches because they're completely natural. Just as there's no contraindication, you can't get too much vitamin B when you go out into the sun. But always check this with yourself. So today is really for informational purposes only, and then the responsibility and the due diligence, of course, for you and what you do with your own body is your choice and your exploration further. So as we've said, X39 is an activation patch with a wearable light technology as part of it, and it's completely natural. So before we get into talking more about the specifics of this, what we'd like to do is share a couple of stories with you of what people have noticed using it, because the stories will give you a context, and then we can go into the specifics of the technology and some of the science behind how the patches work. So this is where we're heading for the day. Let's begin with, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, sure.
Story?
Yeah. Well, we've been on the patches, I suppose, a bit over 6 months now. And I must say I did think that I was in pretty good shape. And it wasn't until I started recognizing, oh, that's gone. Oh, that's gone. That I went, oh, okay, I'm really glad I got these patches. But one of the primary things that occurred was that a long time ago, and for many years, and I still like to do it occasionally, is carpentry. And because of that, this wrist became incredibly arthritic. And it swelled up right here. In this area here was bone on bone. I had all the scans which confirmed that. And the only thing the doctor said was, you use cortisone injections, and every couple of months, that'll help the pain go away. Okay, and we all know that's not such a great thing. Long story short, within 3 months, my wrist now has no swelling in this area. I can bend this wrist now nearly at 90 degrees, nearly the same as this one. I can work all day on the farm. I can do carpentry. I can do whatever I want. And I just don't get any discomfort. If I do get a little bit of a twinge, I'll just put the patch on, put the X39 right on the pain. When I used to go to sleep, I used to I put my hand this way. No, then I have to put it down this way because the pain just kept me up all night. And so many different, even my hair is getting darker, which I never thought, I didn't expect my hair to change, but it's getting darker, it's getting thicker. I thought it was my shampoo going, something wrong with my shampoo.
So can I just ask you, with your wrists, and I know as his wife I should know this, but I don't remember, how long had it been sore for?
Oh, years. And it's why I went to the doctor and I put wraps around it, I put sprays on it, ointments on it, all sorts of things. And it just didn't do anything. The pain would be there and I'd come home and I'd be in so much pain and couldn't sleep properly. And now it's just not a drama. Not at all.
And I think that's such a great piece, because when you start working with these patches which help your body to naturally regenerate, there are so many stories of people that have had conditions like this for years or decades, and with the right information in the body can return to its wholeness and to its healthy state.
Yeah.
So that's such a lovely awareness that it was a while.
Yeah, look, it did, it takes time because it's regrowing cartilage. That's what copper peptide and stem cells do. So, and it's still doing that as we speak. So I just know it's going to continue and I'll be fine. Yeah, that's such a good thing to have in the toolkit.
So give some thought now to, if you have any aches and pains or injuries or things from work or from sport that you know now are limiting you, restricting you, causing loss of sleep, causing limited movement, things that you love to do, oh, actually I can't because that's sore, or I don't have that movement. Just imagine in 6 months that being gone and you having the ability to have full movement, to be able to do the things that you want to do. Because as we age, what we are told and what we often experience is once we've got something, we're stuck with it. It doesn't heal. We can't heal bone on bone. There is no regrowing cartilage. There is no healing in a lot of ways unless you start to bring injections and things in. In fact, there's thousands of stories of how you can change that. So think for yourself, what is it that you're experiencing that feels like it's a limitation that you'd like to be free of, and be curious about what we're sharing today and how that might be able to help. That's great. Thanks, Gaz. So Erin, do you want to unmute, because you've also got a lovely story to share about your dad as well as some of your own experiences.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. My dad was pretty healthy and he didn't really start having problems till his late 80s. And we've always been a family that, a number of us really like to read, so he often reads. And one of the times I went up to visit, I noticed he wasn't reading. It was like, what's going on? And it turned out he was having problems with his eyes, like they weren't quite focusing right, so it was difficult to read. So, for regular day-to-day things, it wasn't a problem, but, it was sort of feeling bad that he didn't have that enjoyment anymore. And so this was probably a year ago that I noticed this. And in June, we got him started on the patches for various other things. He's got a heart problem that we're hoping this will make a difference on. And it was about 2 or 3 months in when I went up and he had a book in his hands. And I went, what's going on? This is great. Because I'm one of the people that loves to read. So the thought of somebody not being able to read is just horrifying to me. So, so that improved. He's seen some other improvements and his heart seems to be stronger. We don't have definites yet on that, so stay tuned on that one. For me, it's sort of, as Gaz was saying, I thought, well, I'm in pretty good shape and it's more sort of maintenance type things. And I got on the patches, and in a couple of months, I noticed that a thumb joint that I'd sort of sprained and it never went back to the right size. And so, didn't have full range of motion. And all of a sudden that was doing better and the size was going back to normal. Of course, I kept checking, to see if I could get the same range of motion. And I was also having a problem with my shoulder, which only bothered me when I was reaching behind me. So I don't do that a whole lot, but all of a sudden I reached behind me and it was like, this isn't a problem anymore. So I was excited about that. I didn't realize I really hadn't really focused on the things that needed fixing. But the little things that I noticed along the way was my earlobes were firmer and my fingernails got clearer and my cuticles were staying back and the ridges on my thumbnails went away. And luckily I've got enough alternative care people who said, "Oh, that's your liver improving." I'm going, yes, because I've beaten up on my liver a lot of stress that it's had to deal with. So that was pretty exciting. I guess the one other thing that I wanted to share was this person I know who was having skin issues. And so they got on the patches to try it out. And so I was checking in, it'd been a month and there'd been no real change in the skin issues. And they said, "But I've noticed that my heart rate is much more stable. So it's much steadier." And I said, "Oh, well, that makes sense because your body's going to go fix the things that are most important first, and it'll get to the skin sooner or later." So just one thing to think about.
That's great. And that's it's such a great thing to be aware of for everyone when you start using these patches is to, and we can share, and whoever's invited you here can share what's called the health tracker, where you can keep track of the things that you want to have change, but also things that are just background irritation or things that are low level that you just think, "Oh, well, I've learned to live with that." Like you with your wrist, really. You just
I just learned to live with it.
That's what it is. Because as Erin said, the body will choose the priority area to regenerate. And that's because our body is designed to keep us living. Survival is the key. And so skin issues may or may not be impinging the ability to survive, but heart issues will. So it can be frustrating from our thinking self because we go, "Oh, I really want that to be the focus." The body will prioritize. All the other things will be happening in the background as well. So so great, lovely stories. Thank you, Erin. So and I can just imagine, too. I know my mum, she used to love reading, and for her to not have been able to read when she was less able to go out and be busy in life when she was in her 90s would have been, there's a lot of loss. It's just not, "Oh, I can't read so much now." There's a whole lot of quality of life that goes with something as simple as eyesight improvement and able to read. So, all right, let me go back to that, and we will have time for questions at the end. So we definitely. This is where we're just saying that this is the patch, the X39 patch, and how the patch works is that our bodies radiate low-grade infrared light, and you can see that on night vision goggles. You can see that on thermal scans, as you can see in the picture here. It's just something naturally that our body does, and it's our light that activates the lattice structure within. I'm just thinking, where's my patch? Within the patch. I've got one. Here's one we prepared earlier. So this is what the patch looks like. It's a little plastic sticky patch, sticky on one side, shiny on the other. And in that white section in the middle is a proprietary lattice structure that's patented. And when your light hits the patch, it reflects a particular frequency of light back into your body. That begins the restorative process. And the way it works is that your body begins the process of naturally elevating the amino acid GHKCU or copper peptide. Now, GHKCU copper peptide has been very, very well researched since the 50s, I think.
70s.
Oh, since the 70s, so 50 odd years. There's a lot of data if you want to get into the science of it, research it and knock yourself out because there's a lot of really interesting information about it. But in our context, what's so important about GHKCU is this, that when you elevate naturally GHKCU in your body, your skin and your hair improves. So it helps with the production of natural collagen in the body. Now, we can take collagen supplements, but they're not as bioavailable as the collagen our body naturally produces. So loosened skin gets tighter, i.e. Erin's earlobes would be part of that. Fine lines and wrinkles start to disappear, skin spots and lesions, hair growth changes. I was at the hairdresser just a couple of weeks ago, and my hairdresser said, your hair's getting thicker. Now, at 62, my hair shouldn't be getting thicker. It should be getting thinner. So she was really amazed at my hair getting thicker. You'll also find accelerated wound healing, and we've got some pictures around that as well.
I've got to say, it's quite fun to tick these off, because I was even just this morning looking back. I had an appendix scar that I got when I was 11. I'm 65 now, and that's disappearing as well. I thought, come on, it's so amazing.
Scars, all sorts of things will heal as the body creates its own natural collagen and begins this regenerative process. The other thing that elevating copper peptide naturally in your body does is it's really great for the lungs. So it topped the list of bioactive ingredients to help with chronic pulmonary issues. And there are some very powerful stories of, there's one video I've seen of a woman who had been on 24/7 oxygen for a number of years. She had pulmonary issues, lung issues. Within, I think it was 3 months or 4 months of using the X39 patch, she no longer needed oxygen. So it really is powerful for restoring healthy function in lung cells and to protect the lungs from future damage. So if you've ever been a smoker, which I'm sure no one here has been, this could be something you can think about and explore. The other thing that copper peptide does, and when it's elevated using the X39 patch, is it's really great for brain and nerve. So it improves our neuron function in the brain. It really helps with stress. So it helps people calm their nervous system. And it's also been, there are some great examples of people's spinal cords regenerating when they've elevated their copper peptide using the X39 patch. And it also, interestingly, is shown to slow down fast-growing cells. Now, remember, we're not making any medical claims here, but the research into the copper peptide has shown that it resets programmed cell death for aging cells, so those old cells actually do die. It inhibits particular chemicals in the body which are believed to promote fast-growing cells, which we don't want. It repairs damaged cells. So there are, again, many stories of people that have had fast-growing cells. They start to use the X39 patch and they, as well as other treatments, in many cases, and they really notice a difference. So fast-growing cells. But the most important thing in many ways is this reactivation and restimulation of our stem cells. And that's where, the regeneration of the cartilage and the hair growth and the color changing is, as we age, we lose stem cells, and it's our stem cells that keep us young. So when you can start to produce more stem cells in your body, they can reset your body to a younger and healthier state. And all of this, if you want to have a look into it, this is about the X39 patch and the copper peptide elevation. Go to that tinyurl.com/X39 research, and you'll be able to read the data around that there. But stem cells are really the key, and many of you would know there's a lot of talk about stem cells. You can go and have stem cell therapies in some countries, in some places. The thing with external stem cells being put into your body, it can be problematic and they don't always work. What we're doing here with the X39 is we're reactivating and proliferating our own innate stem cells. Nothing is going into our body except our own light. Nothing is being created in our body except what our body is able to naturally create. And stem cells are such a key for the aging process, because by 35, we've lost half of our stem cell activity. That's why when we get into our early mid-30s, we start to notice aging. We start to get grey hair. We start to get a few more, aches and creaks and pains. We hurt ourselves and we don't kind of bounce back perhaps the way that we did. And that's by 35, which, is kind of scary really for many of us maybe on this call, because we're a little bit past that. By the time we get into our 60s and even 70s, we've lost almost all of our stem cell activity. So just think about what that means. If our body is not naturally rejuvenating and regenerating, what does that mean when we do hurt ourselves, when we are affected by external environmental toxins or just the environment around us? when our body starts to degenerate, if we don't have enough stem cells, we can't halt or slow or even reverse that process. So healthy stem cells are how we naturally heal and how we naturally rejuvenate. And this is a young guy who, using the X39 patch, he'd had a snowboarding accident. You can see that first day he was pretty beaten up. Even by day 2, he still had bruises and cuts. He had a job interview, apparently. By day 3, it looks like he's put on makeup. It had healed so fast. This one is equally amazing. This is a little 8-year-old boy who cut the finger off, top of his finger. And the doctors didn't want to sew it on. They said, it's dead. I mean, you can see there, you know, it looks pretty gruesome. The doctor said it won't regrow. The parents begged the doctors. They said, please put it back on, because they had the patches. And you can see after 2 months, completely healed. So when we give our body the right information via light, via the X39 patch, then we are able to heal and rejuvenate. So in the first few days of wearing the X39 patch, what you can expect is that 3,000 to 4,000 of your genes begin to reset to a healthier state. Now, this is not a fanciful claim. This has all been backed by the clinical studies that LifeWave have done. Within 6 weeks, brain mapping shows that your brain becomes more balanced. And so symptoms such as loss of memory, depression, anxiety, poor sleep, begin to be reversed. Now, some people notice the improvement in sleep within the first few days and first weeks. People will really notice things differently based on, as we were saying before, what else is going on in your body. Within 3 months, collagen is increased. So that's where the wrinkles, the tightening of skin, increased hair growth happens. And within 6 months, your heart begins to reverse in age. Again, this is shown in the studies. So in a recent study, 14 out of 15 people lowered their vascular age by an average of 8 years after just 6 months of using the patches. I mean, it's extraordinary what our body is capable of doing when we give it the right information.
I think that's the real key. And all these clinical studies are there for you to look into and research if you want to. And what I find just so amazing is that at one level we're told, well, you're getting old now, so you just got to expect this. No, you don't. This is actually shows, and I can feel it in my own physical body, that I am getting old and it doesn't make a difference now. Now I have a way to change my own physical body naturally. Like, it does have an ability to regenerate and rejuvenate itself. It's such a wonderful thing to have in your back pocket.
And one thing too, there's a naturopath that we know, and she says that she's got clients that she obviously uses lots of supplements with, and she now also uses the X39 patch. And she says she has one client who saved, what was it, $500?
Yeah, $500 a month, yeah,
on supplements, and was able to replace those with the X39 patch. And that's because it does so much. It's not just a one, yes, it rejuvenates stem cells, it boosts collagen, it helps to calm the nervous system. It does so many things that when you start using it, you don't necessarily need maybe some of the other supplements and things that you're on. So you might be wondering how you use this patch and how do you wear it. So this is Gary, who's modelled.
Yes, that was
me. That's right.
That was me, yes.
Selflessly, he allows us to use his image. So these patches come in an envelope, which is called a sleeve, and you get a month's worth of patches in a supply. And you wear the patch for 12 hours on, and then you take it off for 12 hours. And the two positions, as you can see in that diagram, one is behind the neck, and the other is just below the belly button. And they're the two positions that all the clinical studies were based upon. The reason you take the patch off after 12 hours is because of a thing called attenuation. And what attenuation means in light therapy is that if you leave a patch on for longer than 12 to 15 hours, your body will stop responding to the signal that it's sending. So you want to give your body a break from the patch. You take it off, you throw it away, or you put it on your pet, and you let your body rest from the information that frequency is coming into your body. until the next day, and then you put it on again and you begin. So you apply a new patch every day, and the recommendation is to give yourself at least 3 months to begin to see the benefits. Many, many people will see things much faster. But 3 months is a good amount of time. In fact, the company recommends that you should patch for every decade of life. So I made the decision 6 months is what I was going to give myself, given I'm in my 60s. But 3 months is a really good commitment. And it makes sense because what you're doing, such as, Gary's wrist, that didn't happen overnight. It didn't even happen in a week or a month. It happened over a prolonged period of time. So it's not realistic, even though we would love it to be, for our body to suddenly miraculously go back to its younger state within a couple of days or even a couple of months. It may, and you will notice differences before that time. The other thing that's really important when you're wearing the patches is you want to stay hydrated. Keep drinking lots of water because that will enhance the patch's ability to do its work. The GHKCU and the stem cells need your body to be well hydrated to go around and do all the things that they're doing. So that's really the simplicity of how it works. And the person that invited you, when you have the conversation with them, they can explain to you the best way to buy these patches so you can get them wholesale. And if you're interested in, if you are a practitioner, I know we do have a lot of practitioners in our community, so there possibly are practitioners on the call. If you're a practitioner and you want to begin to use these with your clients, then you may also want to look at signing up and getting started as what they call a brand partner, which allows you to make some money back as you start to use the patches and share them. But you don't need to. You can just buy these as a customer and get the wholesale pricing for them. So just to emphasize that everything we've shared, and I'm sure for many of you here, if you're here, it's because you are open to alternatives as well as mainstream medicine. But everything we've shared here is really based on patented, researched science. It's not just ambit claims. And as Gary said, there are a lot of research and there's a lot of papers around, so you can, the person you speak to can send you the link for the data and things to look at that as well if you want to.
One other thing too is, as you can see, that's the patent. The patent is for 20 years. I think we're about 5 years into that patent, 2018 at the moment. And it also means that no one else has this technology. There's no one else that can create it or do anything close to what this patch does. And when you start to look at the testimonials, you can understand how incredible this little thing is, and our body is, more importantly.
Yeah, it's kind of the formal part. Anyone have any questions? If you just raise your hand and I can unmute you, or just unmute yourself, and we've got a little bit of time left to answer any questions you might have. Mark said, will we share the slides? We won't be sharing the slides separately, but this recording will be available, so we'll send it out to you, and then you're welcome to share this with others. Annie, yeah.
I have a question about, I've been using the patches, I love them, and can you put the X39 patch anywhere? In the booklet, it tells you to put it, in 2 places, and I have a lot of places of.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm 86 and I have a lot of arthritis, and a lot of I'm a degenerate. Let's put it that way.
I love it. So that's a great question. So you can actually put the patch anywhere on the body because our whole body is light. Anywhere on the body is going to activate the crystal lattice structure and begin that GHKCU process, which will then have the ripple effect of all of those things. So you can put it anywhere. The reason the booklets and always just say those 2 spots is because that's where the clinical studies, that's what the clinical studies are based on. So that's all they can claim. Now, when we first got our patches back in March, I don't, again, I'm, touch wood, I'm pretty fit and healthy, but I did have a really sore neck and shoulder from having been a little bit enthusiastic at yoga. And so when we got the patches, the first thing I did, it was sore here. I took it out of the pack. I stuck it on my shoulder. And within a few hours, that pain had gone, it had loosened up, and it hasn't been an issue since. So you can really put them anywhere that you want.
And you can move them around.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can move them around. Yeah.
Move them around.
And so if you wanted to move it around and it wasn't sticking, because sometimes the stickiness wears off, we just put a bit of a plaster over the top, bit of anything,
even a band-aid. Yeah.
It's a medical grade plastic. It's made by 3M, so it's not it's hyperallergenic, so you can put it on and stick things over it. But if you do have someone who is very sensitive, so we have there are some really powerful stories of people with autism who are patching and getting really wonderful results. Some of those kids don't find it comfortable having it actually on their skin. So in that case, you would stick it on your clothing because the heat from the body is still going to activate the patch.
Yeah, I've done that. I have a question. I assume the answer will be no. You can't use more than one X39 patch at a time. I have so many places I would like to know. I would be a Raggedy Ann doll or something.
Yeah. You'd be very dotty, wouldn't you, by the end of it? So you technically you can, but what David Schmidt, the inventor, says is you only get about 20% more benefit from the second patch. So what you might want to look into is to add the Aeon patch. And the Aeon patch, which I don't have one of those packets here, but the Aeon patch is particularly for inflammation in the body. And
I use that at night. I do use that, and it helps me sleep.
Oh, great. Okay. Then they're a great combination, because one of the things that stops our stem cells from working is inflammation in the body. And so they refer to Aeon, AEON, and the X39 patch as the dynamic duo. So great to combine those if you know you've got inflammatory issues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oh, I have so many questions. I don't want to take up space. If there's time after the other people have asked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Annie. Cheryl. Just unmute yourself, darling.
So it's I'll take my hand down a second. So the question I had is about the Aeon patch. So when we were on our trip, the retreat, I think y'all said that the Aeon could be worn at night. And then I don't know if I'm overthinking it. And I thought, well, I'm not as hydrated at night, and I really make an effort to drink a lot of water during the day, and I actually do right up until bedtime, and then have to get up until the night. So, when is it best?
Great question. So the short answer is yes, you can wear it at night. In fact, David Schmidt, the inventor, he wears Aeon at night, because what Aeon does is it calms the nervous system as well as helping with inflammation. And that's why, Annie, you're saying when you wear it, you sleep really well. So you can wear that one at night. X39 is recommended as a daytime patch only, because it does start a slight detox. You want to be able to stay hydrated. And of course, we're not hydrated when we're sleeping, and we're not moving around. So the body isn't kind of moving things through. Yeah. So the main thing with this really, though, is play with it, because everyone's going to respond differently. And so try Aeon at night, and if you notice that works for you, fabulous. If you don't feel it does, then wear it during the day, and just see which works for you. But yeah, Aeon is definitely specified as able to be a nighttime patch.
Okay, because I did switch and was wearing it at nighttime for a while, and I did feel like it felt good wearing it at night. And then I thought, well, I was looking back at the booklet, and it says stay hydrated. Yeah. So I switched.
If it feels good, if it feels good, stick with that. That's great. And we actually wear our Aeon patch at night, and we wear it on what we call is the unicorn spot, the third eye. So we look very hilarious as we lie in bed, but it's very soothing. It'll really help you, really help with sleep.
And that stimulates the pineal area in the brain.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And one more thing, just to let you know, because I think I told you that on my Apple Watch tracker, it was like starting 2 weeks after I started using the patch, it started saying, wow, you're hitting your exercise goal. I mean, so my metabolism is different, and I don't know that I would notice, except that I'm wearing both a Fitbit and an Apple Watch, and they both have had some shifts, for those people that say, well, I don't feel any different. But one thing I noticed recently is my ankles aren't swollen at night anymore.
Wow.
And they not that they were like grossly swollen before, but at the end of the day, I would look at my legs, taking my shoes off, like my ankles are swollen. I wish they weren't swollen. That's a,
right.
sign of the, aging or whatever. And so I noticed recently that in the evening, my ankles aren't swollen. So then I even tried okay, when I eat some potato chips during the day, which is a little more salt, because I don't typically add salt to my food. Still, they were not swollen.
That's great.
That's great.
That's such a lovely example of, when you start to wear the patches, you want to become really curious and aware of what's shifting in your body that you wouldn't be expecting. Because, and if you've got Fitbits or any of those apps, they're a great way to notice things as well. That's great. Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Brenda, would you like to unmute?
Yeah, I'm curious as to the X39 and the X49 together. I don't understand that relationship and how to use those. So that's one question. The next question I have is, when you're using the X39, typically I've been using it at the base of my neck and it's been great, but I have other areas of the body that I think I'd like to try. And what's the difference between where you put the patch? Because I have a ton of issues and it's like, okay, well, that's fine to have it on the back of the neck. And I do notice a difference. Like the very first time I put the X39 patch on, about 20 minutes later, I felt this cool breeze sweep through my body. And when I practiced Qigong that morning, it felt like liquid water was flowing through my veins. It was really cool. As you can tell, I'm a little bit sensitive. So those are a couple of questions that I have. I mean, I have lots of questions, but I would like to give other people an opportunity.
Very great. And thank you for sharing that experience. That's such a lovely feeling and visual of the patches. So the thing I would do, Brenda, is experiment. So move them. One of the things that often is said is, like I did with my shoulder, patch the pain. So if you've got a particular sore spot, and Gaz was wearing the X39 generally on his body, but sometimes if the wrist was sore, he would put it locally on the wrist. So the stem cells will head to where they need to go. And putting it locally, for me, I just, in my brain, I think, well, they've got less distance to travel, so that's helpful. And also, I use my intention. Well, we both work with energy and intention. So, when I place it somewhere where it's sore, I'll place it there with the awareness and the intention that this is the area I want to have begin to regenerate and refocus. So, given your sense of, move it around. You can move it around, leave it somewhere for an hour, see what you notice, move it somewhere else, see what you notice. The nice thing about it, you can't put it in the wrong spot. No. Because our whole body is light, and it can't do anything wrong because all it's doing is reactivating a natural process that your body was doing anyway, and is kind of really, to me, it always feels like it's crying out to go, yes, give me more. I want some more copper peptide. I want some more stem cells. Yeah.
And yes, and the X39, X49, they're like brother and sister. They do work beautifully together. They were designed to work together. And the X49 is primarily for heart circulation and increased muscle growth. It sort of works a little bit differently to the X39. And it is, we could chat about that for a long, long time. My sense is, just put the patch wherever you feel you want it to go. It's going to go all over your body anyway, and just pop it wherever you feel like it is going to help reduce pain straight away, or within a short time anyway. I do sometimes move it around, to shoulder or neck or wherever. condition.
Yeah, yeah. So, and X49 is also some of the clinical studies show that it elevates a different copper peptide, not GHKCU. It's AHK, which is a sister peptide, and it helps with bone density. So it helps with osteoporosis as we age. It helps with our bones to regenerate. Saying that too. Yeah, the osteoporosis support, but it helps to build muscle. Helps with stamina, with strength. Lots of great things. At some stage, we are going to be running more and more of these sessions, and we can go into more detail about different patches because there's so many of them. But this really is the hero patch. Is how I think of it. It's the foundational one that you really want to start with, because when we start to regenerate and reactivate our stem cells, then that creates the ripple and the start of so much other healing and regeneration. So always start with this. And if you're wanting to explore other patches, what we suggest is start with X39 for a month, or X39 and Aeon as a combo, because they are a great combo, before you start adding in other patches, because you want to allow your body to get used to this patch and the technology of it and start to see the benefits, and then you can add. You don't want to overload your body. Yeah.
And the beauty.
How many patches can you wear at a time?
Look, it really does vary. There are people who have got very extreme conditions and they wear multiple patches for different things. My philosophy is less is more if you can. So just start and gradually build up. Because otherwise too, if you start wearing every patch, and it's very tempting when you start hearing about everything that they do, you won't really know which patch is doing what. So, I like to kind of add things in bit by bit.
And sometimes something important is if people are on medications, say 2 to 3 or more medications, it takes a little bit longer for you potentially to recognize X39 just because of the acidity in the body. It is working, and many people have actually reduced medications over time once they've consulted with their doctor on it because of the patches. And if you are on medication, it takes a little bit longer, which is why that health tracker is such a great thing to fill out and to even get bloods done if you really wanted to track it.
Really see what's happening.
Yeah, you begin to see what happens in your body.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Yeah, it's so welcome. Thanks.
So
lovely to have you here. So we've got time for one more. So Esther.
Hi. You mentioned that 9-year-old boy, and I'm wondering how old could a child be where you can actually responsibly use, especially something like glutathione, if there is some inflammation going on. How young can you start using them? Do you know?
Well, again, we're not medical doctors, so we're not making any recommendations here. And from all of the different informational videos and things we've watched with X39 and all of the LifeWave patches, the response is always personal choice for the parent to decide if the child, it won't do any harm because it will just reactivate the stem cells. Now, I possibly wouldn't, personally, I may not start with glutathione. I would do X39 because X39 does activate glutathione. It raises the glutathione levels, which helps with the detox. So if you're thinking a little one needs to detox, then I would just use X39 because X39 will help with that. And I would start slow. So I might put it on the child for a couple of hours, take it off. Next day, use that same patch for another couple of hours, take off. So really, because their bodies are much littler. And X39 can create a bit of a detox. People will often feel a bit headachy when they start to wear them. So start slow. I did hear one of the, Dr. Stacey, who's very experienced in this and one of the leaders in the community, and she was asked that question and she said, look, I put it on my children when they were tiny, when they were as little, however young they were when the patch came out. And she said, if you make a decision to feed your child something or you take them to McDonald's or whatever it is you might do, then it's the same thing. Use your own judgment, do your own research. But I would definitely, with the patches, little bits of time and build it up. and see what you notice.
Yeah, just for limited of just for the time of when they are, let's say, in actually experience an inflammation or an illness or something. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Just X39 would be the one I would always go to.
Yeah.
And we don't have time for it today, but we'll be asking Esther to join us on one of our calls because she has some lovely stories of using the patches with birds, and animals respond extremely well to light therapy because they emit light as well. And the lovely thing is, if anyone's sitting here thinking, well, this is all just placebo and it's mind over matter and you're talking yourself into these kind of results, start putting them on your pets, and there's no placebo, and they're very powerful. So we'll be inviting Esther back one day to share those stories because they're so beautiful. All righty, so we have gone way over. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope it's been useful. We'll be sending out the replay link, so you're welcome to share it. We will also be sending out more dates for this in around this time that works, we know, for the US, but also end of day for Australia, and that will also work for the UK. So we'll be getting some of those set up before the end of the year. But yeah, any questions, get back in touch with the person who invited you. If it was us, then let us know. We'd love to, we're happy to hop on calls and chat more. We really wish you well using these patches because they are wonderful, and it's a beautiful journey to begin to experience. So thank you, everybody. Lots of love.
Big hugs.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.